Greetings, YouTube. I want to start off this late night video with a disclaimer that it's okay to disagree. You might disagree strongly with me in this video. You might agree with Kabam Jax, and that's great. I think that's healthy. I always tell people it's a weird thing to hear people say, and I know they mean it well, but they say, Prof, I enjoy watching your channel, even though I sometimes disagree with you. And my response is always, that's awesome. Please continue to disagree with me. One, because I am often wrong. And two, because even if I'm right, it's important to think for yourself. If you watching this at home or at the bathroom or driving in the car, if you just agreed with me all the time, this wouldn't be a channel. This would be a different C word. It would be a cult. And I am not working hard every day to produce media for a YouTube cult, but rather a YouTube channel. I want to take you back to 4 years ago, 2018, when I went to New York City Comic Con. And Kabam had a development team offer to meet with summoners to come up with different ideas for how to improve the game. At this point, the quality of life, QOL, wasn't really a phrase yet. And in Kabam's defense, a lot of what several summoners, including myself, have talked about, they have implemented. But not my number one, most no-brainer, sought-after goal. Especially now that there are paragons, or as I like to call them, wallet breaker players. These daily crystals are amazing. You can get free 6 stars in them. You can get Tier 2 Alpha and Tier 5 Basic, a very generous amount. Tier 5 Basic, I think it's half of one or fully formed for the most part. Same with Tier 2 Alpha, although 27,000 Tier 2 Alpha Chaos Fragments are also a thing. You can get so many different things you need. Tier 3 Alpha and Tier 6 Basic on rare occasion. The usual amount of units, 6-star shards, and a ton of Tier 5 Class Chaos Fragments. Also, it's important to actually open this. I forgot to do that in a video. And hey, what do you know? Some more 6-star shards. Perfect. Speaking of 6-star shards. So, I like to open these in batches of 5, so obviously I am not going to open them in this video. But I hate that you have to claim these. The 4-hour crystals, whatever, so be it. But these daily Paragon crystals, these daily wallet breakers, are really, really frustrating because so oftentimes it's easy to forget to claim them and you screw yourself over several hours. Or let's say you didn't forget, but then you can't log into the game. You're hurting yourself. Now, the classic argument that has persisted to 2022 states that Kabam can't code this to be claimed. And my response is always, BS! You're telling me they can't code it like they code the daily login calendars, which they often add new ones that they code in, like in this case, the awesome Gatekeeper that I love, the several different 2-star champions, some of which are exclusive to the Gatekeeper, it feels like. If you were able to be rewarded for logging into the game at least once a day to get your daily crystal, you would get a guaranteed 365 every year. But instead, I feel like I get like 320. I lose at least a month's worth of crystals by the time the year is over because I don't have the ability to claim crystals in time. And I can't be the only person that does that, right? I just can't. I refuse to believe it because it happens to me every year. So this was actually brought up this week on the forums. And I love my man Brian Shadowstrike. He disagrees with me on this point that I'm making. And I think, again, that's fine. That is fine. So let's go to the post. All right. We had this initial post that we read on the channel about automatically being able to claim objectives. And eventually, in this thread, you get people who are asking about daily crystals. And Kabam Jax says, I can provide some insight into this certainly. The reason the feature exists for the Summoner's Camp or Resort objectives is that we don't want summoners to lose out on a potential next objective, thus punishing them even though they've already completed an objective. You shouldn't be penalized for completing objectives. The reason this feature is not implemented for daily crystals is because that would de-incentivize players from even opening the game. The feature is making things easier to play, not making it so you don't have to. All right. If you are arguing that this means that you could stack daily crystals together and you could go 48 hours without logging into the game and you'd still get the 2 crystals, then fine. But Kabam Jacks, that argument does not hold up in daily calendars, because we know the calendar hits, I think it's 7 o'clock Central Standard Time in the United States, and you have 24 hours until the next day of the calendar. And if you log in after that, you've just missed a day. Well, that's what should happen with the daily crystals. You should get 24 hours to get them automatically to claim, and it shouldn't be hour dependent or second dependent. And if you play every day, you should get 365 daily crystals. Kabam might not want that also because they want people to maybe lose a few of those. But I think it's bad business. I think it's a bad concept. And I've never disagreed with Kabam Jacks more. He says, but why not implement it to auto-claim when you log into the game? Incentive is to get in the game. Once you are in, why not auto-claim? This would be a great quality of life change, and I agree with you. There shouldn't be auto-claim when you don't even open the game. So Sham here makes the same argument. You get the crystal for logging on. It's pretty self-explanatory. Grounded with Wisdom says, no. No, you don't. Because you still got to claim it. And the problem with the daily crystal is, especially for somebody who runs the arena, if I'm doing a full, let's say, arena run for an hour, and the crystal is active during that hour, I'm going to forget to stop doing the arena and claim it. And it's going to add up fast. Daily crystals are one of the best things for especially free-to-play players. And they're being punished, and have been for years, for not being able to claim it. So Grounded Wisdom continues to be grounded on his knees. And eventually, Ebony Moss says, not really large amounts of the same crystal barely impact the server at all. Not like people didn't hoard on them already ever since the beginning. Blah, blah, blah. Grounded Wisdom continues to talk. DNA 3000 says this. At the risk of contradicting Jax, I believe he's glossed over something in his explanation. The reason autoclaim doesn't exist for the daily and free crystals is almost certainly because the game explicitly wants you to go get them. It is just that simple. Things like the calendar and the free crystals are engagement tools. They are there to encourage players to think about and play the game. The calendar exists to reward players who log in consistently. 10 minutes a day for 30 days is better than 6 hours on one day, because the explicit intent is not to encourage minutes of gameplay. It is to encourage coming back consistently. That's why it's there. The crystals are there not just to encourage people to log in. The calendar already does that. They are there to make sure people are thinking about the game. Could you say, though, I'm thinking about the game, that's why I'm hitting the claim button? I mean, I sort of get it, but overall, I just disagree that one, the coding wouldn't work, and two, that players should be punished. My point is the opposite. I'm not just thinking about the game. I'm in the game, and I'm not able to stop what I'm doing. Maybe I'm putting on a 30% greater champion boost, and I'm doing an hour of an event quest straight through for event quest completion points and Cavalier difficulty. I don't want to just stop that to back out. And yet, that's where we are. I think there's got to be some kind of consensus with this. But again, if you disagree with me, if you disagree with this, that's fine. Just know, I've been preaching about this on my YouTube channel for 5 years. I didn't want this video to be 10 minutes, and yet we were almost there. So let's end it here. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. And shout out to all the people who continue to send me forum posts, especially Brian Shadow Strike. Your support is awesome, and I want you to disagree with me, even if it means you risk worrying about offending me, which, by the way, I'm not offended. I'm only offended if you are afraid to be honest with me, because I am not some fragile snowflake. I'm just a basic bee.